Good morning and welcome back to Planet Doug, and this is a video in which I'm going to be replying to comments that people left on my Touch and Go Visa card video. And you'll have to forgive the low-budget hotel room nature of Planet Doug Studios. I did have plans to go to a nicer place. I was going to go to a nice coffee shop down on the waterfront or somewhere else and sort of sit outside in the real world and shoot the video there. And I was all ready to go. But then I ran into one of my many issues. I wasn't tracking my digital, my data for my SIM card properly. Normally I track it down to the hour, and then when my package runs out, I use my high-speed data connection in order to buy my next package of high-speed data. But I missed my window apparently, so suddenly my whole world shut down. My laptop wasn't working, everything was going really slow, and I thought everything was broken, but then I checked and my data package had run out and I didn't notice it. And I still had like 500 megabytes of like super slow data. And so that has allowed me to do one or two things. But anyway, when the internet disappears from my life, it's a major problem. It's incredible. My entire life just grinds to a halt. And of course, since I'm in a low budget hotel, I mean, you would think I can just switch to hotel Wi-Fi, right? Buy data, go back to my high-speed mobile data. But of course, low budget hotel, the room I get is always outside the hotel Wi-Fi range. And in this room, I have no ability to connect. I guess eventually I'll go down to the hotel lobby, and I assume there's going to be Wi-Fi in the lobby. They make sure their staff have Wi-Fi, but then the guests in their rooms have to fend for themselves. And lately it hasn't been a problem because I use a Digi SIM card, and they've had this package which is essentially 2,000 gigabytes of high-speed data at a good price that lasts for 9 days. And I've been buying, I think it's like 14 ringgit for 2,000 gigabytes. And I've been buying that every 9 days. When it runs out, I just buy another package. And this time I forgot to do it. But now when I go to Digi, that package is gone. I have a feeling that people out there in the corporate world, they monitor everything I do. And as soon as I find something that really works well for me and I'm getting good value from it, they're like, oh, no. On Planet Doug, we cannot have that. So this data package that Doug has come to depend on, well, let's remove it. Yeah, let's make him buy another package that has less data, is more expensive, and lasts a shorter amount of time, right? So anyways, anyway, I just did not want to go out into the world and go wandering around shooting video and have no access to the internet. If I'm going to have that much trouble, I might as well stay in humble Planet Doug Studios and enjoy a very inexpensive cup of instant coffee rather than buying like 18 ringgit latte at some fancy coffee shop just so that I can have a nice background. So you're stuck with me here in my hotel room for now, but I have all of the comments that people left on that video queued up on my tablet, and I'm going to enjoy my coffee, read through the comments and answer. Some of them is just providing information, so it's not like a question, because when it comes to the Touch and Go Visa card, I'm not the expert. People in Malaysia are the experts, and in my video, I was just talking about my experiences, things I learned, and then I made mistakes in the video that people corrected me on, or people added information that I didn't include in the video. I may or may not have known that information. Some of it I knew, but I just didn't include it in the video. Other stuff I didn't know or never thought of. So I have about 20 comments to go through. And one quirk with these comments, something that drives me crazy on YouTube, is that most of the people who left comments, if you go to their YouTube channel, because everybody has their own YouTube channel, right, whether they use it to post videos or not, they have a name there, a very clear, simple, easy to read name that they chose for their YouTube identity. But when they leave a comment, for reasons that remain mysterious to me, YouTube doesn't use that name. They use, I guess it's the YouTube handle, and they created the YouTube handle for, it's supposed to make things easier, but I don't know, these names are all weird, almost like serial numbers, and so I may or may not read the name of the person who left the comment, because, yeah, they're just gibberish, basically, a weird shortened name with a bunch of letters and numbers, like a serial number, and then, but I will put a copy of every comment. I'll insert it in the video so you can see the person's name and their profile photo, stuff like that. And I'll enjoy coffee while I do this. So let's dive in, and here is the very first comment. First comment is from Enda Trading, and he writes, "Great video. I still like to carry cash even though I use the Tap to Pay Visa card a lot." Yeah, so that's not new information or a question, that's a statement, and I included it because I think it is really interesting. In my video, I kind of exaggerated that I don't even need my wallet anymore. Like, I use Touch and Go, the e-wallet, and now the Touch and Go Visa card and the Touch and Go enhanced card for public transportation. I use Touch and Go, the whole suite of products, so much that most of the time I don't even need money anymore. So I was joking that yeah, my wallet, I would just leave it behind if I could, because I don't even need money anymore. And then Enda Trading is echoing that, how much he likes to use the Visa card for tap and go, tap to pay, but he still carries cash. And I do too. I still carry my wallet around because it has my Planet Doug name cards in there and my other cards like the enhanced Touch and Go card, and I keep the Touch and Go Visa card in there, and yeah, a little bit like my smartphone number, so my card from Digi, and cash. But I do run into issues these days because before I became a Touch and Go e-wallet master, I would pay with cash, and then you accumulate small change over time. I mean, you get a pocket full of coins, which is usually quite annoying and rattling around in your pocket, but you end up with, I try to end up with a bunch of small bills. So I'll occasionally, if I go to 7-Eleven and I know I'm making a larger purchase, I will deliberately pay with a 50 ringgit note instead of correct change, because I want small bills. I keep track of it, and I make sure I have enough of them in my wallet for the times when I need them. And when I need them is perhaps I find someone who at the side of the road who's begging for money, like a street person. And these days, I think homeless people are in a little bit of trouble because people are not giving them as much money. We will give them money on impulse, and then we just dig out 5 ringgit, 2 ringgit, 1 ringgit, whatever is in our pocket at the time, and we give it to them. But these days, everybody is using cards and e-wallets so much that we don't even have small change anymore. So you end up walking by the homeless person, and you're not even giving them 1 ringgit like you used to, because you go into your wallet, all I've got is 1 50 ringgit note. I don't have smaller bills. Or like in this case, there's an Otak burger place right outside of my hotel, and I've been taking advantage of that and having a lot of Otak burgers, but they don't accept my particular, they do have a QR code, but it comes back and says, no, you can't use this one. It's specific to one bank. I'm still, I guess maybe we'll get into this a little bit, but even though I consider myself something of an expert, I still get confused about what's going on. Not to go off on a tangent immediately, but this QR code looks the same as all the other QR codes, and it says Malaysia National Standard QR. It has the DuitNow logo at the top, but when I scan it with Touch and Go, it says, no. You can't scan a personal QR code. Please tell the vendor that they must get a merchant Touch and Go account or something. Anyway, everything looks right, but there's something about that QR code that my Touch and Go e-wallet won't scan. Anyway, I cannot pay with an e-wallet, and this is the only burger place around my hotel, and so I have to pay them in cash, 5 ringgit for an Otai burger, and then I go into my wallet and all I have is a 50, and I've tried on several occasions to give this guy the 50. I might get 2 burgers for 10 ringgit. I mean, giving 40 ringgit in change is not such a big deal, but he never has change, like never. So yeah, I can't buy my burgers. So you have to carry cash, but the problem related to all of this is because I'm not using cash, I don't have my own small change anymore, and then I'm constantly running into trouble with stalls at the side of the road for drinks and snacks because I don't have enough change and they never have any change. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting world. We're living in this world where e-wallets and debit cards are the preferred payment method, but we still sometimes need cash. And yet, because we're not using cash on a regular basis, we never have enough small change. So we still can't use cash. So I end up in this ridiculous situation where I go up to the guy, hey, could I get 2 Otai burgers, please? And then I try to pay with my e-wallet, it doesn't work. I try to pay with cash, 50 ringgit, he doesn't have change. So now I go into the 7-Eleven, which is beside where this guy has his burger stall, and I go in there looking for something I can buy that I actually need, and then I pay 7-Eleven with my 50 ringgit note to buy something that's worth 3 ringgit, and then I get 47 ringgit in change. And even at 7-Eleven, they have trouble doing that because they don't have enough change either. It's like we're all living in this post-apocalyptic cashless world where small change is the new thing that everybody's fighting over, right? It's kind of crazy. Yeah, so anyway, that's what I do. I go into 7-Eleven, I'll buy something for 3 ringgit, like a bar of soap that I actually need, and then I get 47 ringgit in change, and then I use that to buy my Otai burgers, and then I run out of small change, and then I'm on the hunt again. Of course, in my world, on Planet Doug, if I had an Otai burger franchise, that employee that works for me, he's going to start the day with a till. That dude is going to have enough money to get through the day to give change to everyone. But most businesses here in Malaysia, in Asia in general, that's not a thing. Nobody starts the day with change. They start with nothing, and then they just hope the first customer has the correct change, and if the first customer doesn't, sorry, I can't sell you an Otai burger. Yeah, it's just the way it works. Maybe it's a trust issue. They don't want to give their staff a lot of money to start the day. I don't know why. But anyway, end of trading. Very interesting comment about he still likes to carry cash, just as I do, as I'm sure we all do. But even then, we still run into trouble. Next comment is from CS, longtime contributor and follower of Planet Doug. And I'm responding to these comments in order. I tried very carefully. I saved a copy of every one as a screenshot, and then I carefully numbered the files so that they are in order of time. So the first comments that were left are the first ones I'm responding to. Of course, why not do that? So CS writes, if you have a supported bank account, you could link it for reload either manually or auto. For auto reload, you could set it for small amounts like 100 ringgit each reload. And for manual reload for bigger amount, I noticed the bank app will trigger a secure approval on the bank app, usually via biometric. Yeah, I mean, that's something I didn't know about. This comes up a lot in my YouTube videos about e-wallets, that a lot of local people point out things they can do with their bank accounts. Because once you have a local bank account, you have the bank app, a bank debit card, a bank this, a bank that. It opens up a whole world of possibilities for them. And then quite often people leave comments telling me, hey, just do this. use your bank account, use your bank app. And I've had to explain multiple times, yeah, foreigners, tourists, we can't open a bank account. You can if you're a resident. If you have a residence visa, you live in Malaysia, you retired here, you work here, maybe you're studying here. If you have those visas, you could go to the bank with supporting documents, your home address, and you can open a bank account, get a debit card, get a bank app. Lowly tourist here on a 90-day social visit pass, can't do it. I tried in the past, just on a whim. Just like, hey, I went into the banks, is it possible for me to do this? And they said, well, you're here on a tourist visa. Yeah, I said, no, I can't do it. So we don't have access to any of those things. CS knows that. He's not telling me that I can do this. He's just offering this up as information. Because in the video, I was talking about how one advantage of using an e-wallet and the tap and the Visa card is that it limits your risk. It limits your financial exposure. So like if you go all around Malaysia as a tourist using your credit card, like your actual Visa card or American Express, whatever it is you have, MasterCard, yeah, every time you go into 7-Eleven and you buy a Coke for 3 ringgit and you use your credit card, it is exposing your credit card. So there's a risk of fraud, of being overcharged, because whatever you're using, and if your e-wallet is linked to your bank account or your credit card, that is exposed through your e-wallet, for example. In my case, using an e-wallet as a tourist, my e-wallet and my Touch and Go Visa card is not connected to anything. It's not connected to a credit card. It's not connected to a bank account. So the only money that's at risk is whatever I top up. So if I put 100 ringgit in my e-wallet, I spend that until the 100 ringgit is gone, and then I top up with another 100 ringgit. And that limits the risk. And then CS picked up on that idea and says, hey, if you do have a bank app, you can choose a setting that automatically reloads. I don't know if it's done on a timer or it monitors, like every time I get down to 20 ringgit, please top up automatically from my bank account. So the system automatically tops up your Touch and Go e-wallet, and then you can use your Touch and Go Visa card for small purchases in 7-Eleven and places like that. So CS is suggesting that. And yeah, very, very good piece of information for people to know about. Next comment from Halim Wander. So at least that name is connected to his YouTube channel. It's an easy one to say. And he's been around Planet Doug for a long time. And yeah, consistent contributor. And Halim writes, which is more convenient, Malaysia QR code or Indonesia QRIS? So, I mean, this comment could open up a big can of worms. People in every country that I've been to, Indonesia and well, Indonesia in particular, they're very proud of the QRIS system. Here in Malaysia, I don't think they're as proud of the system they use here because it's a little bit more fragmented, so people don't just latch on to this is the best in the world and every country should adopt what we use. In Indonesia, you do get a bit of that feeling because QRIS is more centralized, more standardized. It's enforced by law as far as I can tell. So everyone in Indonesia, when they talk about e-wallets and QR codes, they all talk about QRIS. Everybody uses the same word and they think of it as one thing, even though under QRIS there are a lot of other things going on. Like everybody uses different e-wallets and bank apps and things like that. So there is fragmentation and variety underneath it, but sitting on top of it is QRIS, and you see that everywhere. And so they're very proud of that. So asking which is better, Malaysia or Indonesia, you have to be very careful answering a question like that because people are going to get upset. And actually, I wrote a very long reply there, as you can see. And of course, I was very careful, hopefully not to upset anyone. And basically what I said in my reply is that I can't really compare them in a fair way, because my only experience is in Banda Aceh. I've been in Kuala Lumpur using Touch and Go and DuitNow, and then I went to Banda Aceh in Sumatra, and I used Touch and Go there, and I used GoPay, the Indonesian e-wallet connected with Gojek, and then I was scanning QRIS codes there. But from my personal experience, QRIS and e-wallet payments is not as widely accepted in Banda Aceh as it might be in Jakarta. So from my personal experience, Touch and Go and DuitNow works beautifully. I love it. Like, there's no issues at all. I go out all day long with my Touch and Go e-wallet, and I use it particularly in Kuala Lumpur, and to pay for everything all day long. And it's very rare to run into a problem, and it's very convenient because it has the three products that I mentioned: the e-wallet, the enhanced transportation card, and now the Visa card, and they're all linked, so you can top up your cards from your e-wallet, and it's a very tightly built system that I think is very, very convenient. But I'm in Kuala Lumpur, the biggest city in Malaysia, where Touch and Go and DuitNow QR codes is everywhere, very widespread. So even if I go to a night market where they might have 200 small food stalls where they're selling little snacks, every single one of them will have a DuitNow QR code on display right at the front. It's front and center everywhere you go. And even as you walk down the street, you can look in the store windows, in the restaurant windows, in the coffee shop, and everybody will have the QR code on display to advertise. Come on in, use your e-wallet here. So it's everywhere and very, very convenient. And then if we switch to Banda Aceh, QRIS and e-wallets work just as well. So if you're using an e-wallet and you find a place that has a QRIS code on display, boop, boop, fast. It's fast, it's convenient, it's reliable, it works just as well as Touch and Go and DuitNow. So on that level, they're both equally good. But then because I was in Banda Aceh, there were very few places that accepted e-wallet payments. So when I shot my videos there, I had to look for them. So all day long, as I'm going around the city just living my life, I would look, and I'm looking to see if I can find a QR code. And if I go into a restaurant to have lunch, then oh, they accept QR codes here. And then I make a mental note that when I want to shoot my video, come to this restaurant, because that restaurant will be unusual. The vast majority of restaurants that I went to would not accept e-wallet payments. Coffee shops, where it was quite rare. And even if places did accept QR code payments from an e-wallet, they didn't advertise it. So you couldn't tell from the outside. You actually had to physically go inside and go up to the cash register and look. Oh, is there a QR code I can scan? And even then, you still sometimes had to ask them, because they have set up an e-wallet, but they don't put it out on display. They just grab the QR code sign and put it in a drawer. So you don't even know. And I'll ask the guy, oh, do you accept QRIS? And he says, oh, yeah, we do. And then he opens the drawer, takes it out. So from that point of view, in Banda Aceh, that's the key point I'm trying to make here, using QRIS and e-wallets was far less convenient because so few places accepted it. But that's not a fair comparison, Banda Aceh to Kuala Lumpur. So I would have to go to Jakarta and then live there for a couple of weeks using GoPay to scan QRIS codes. And then I could do a fair comparison from a tourist point of view, using GoPay to scan QRIS codes versus Touch and Go to scan DuitNow codes. And I haven't had that experience. I only recently used an e-wallet like GoPay in Indonesia. And there's also the other side. I mentioned that Touch and Go has the 3 products. So there is an enhanced card for transportation and the Visa card where you can just tap and go. And the GoPay e-wallet doesn't have that. So there is no card connected to GoPay. But it does have Touch and Go built right into the GoPay e-wallet. But I couldn't test that either because it's not active in Banda Aceh. So maybe the GoPay e-wallet is perfect for public transportation, just as good as the Touch and Go DuitNow system. Just beep, beep, just beep in, beep out. But you would have to go to Jakarta to really test it and use your phone and your GoPay e-wallet to get on a bus and beep, does it work or not? And I wasn't able to test that. So like I said, a fair comparison, I'd have to compare Jakarta to Kuala Lumpur, and I didn't have the opportunity to do that. But on a basic level, the technology, how it works, to me, they're both excellent. Each one is as good as the other. A non-e-wallet question from Conscious Mind. Conscious Mind writes, I see that you frequently buy milk. Maybe it's time for milk comparison with Malaysia's brands of milk. Yeah, I mean, why not? I have had all the different types of milk here. I find in Asia in general, I think a lot of foreigners like myself from the West, when we first come here, we're kind of surprised that milk is often flavored. I remember just like, I would buy a carton of milk and I started drinking it and I'm like, ooh, what the heck is that? Like even a carton, certain brands, it says fresh, 100% milk. Like it's just plain milk. But when I drink it, it has flavoring. It still has a little bit of flavoring added that isn't even marked on the label. So it's just sort of ingrained into the local milk system. And then of course you're going to have, I've done it in the past where I accidentally bought a liter of milk not knowing it was strawberry flavored milk. I just don't notice that it says strawberry on the label. I just go in, grab a liter of milk, go out and I start drinking it and it's like, oh, it's like no. If I'd known it was strawberry milk, I would not have purchased it. It's not my thing. But setting flavored milk aside, the different brands of milk do have a slightly different flavor. And it does, for me anyway, it does seem to correspond with price. There are some cheap, slightly cheaper, slightly more expensive. I think the most expensive I've come across is the Aussie brand. I don't know if the milk actually comes from Australia, but that's what they call it. It's in a blue carton. That always seems to, I think that's the premium milk, and it's the most expensive. And my sense is if you compare that milk with the cheapest carton that you can find, there's going to be a flavor difference. The more expensive ones always seem to have a more natural, just milk flavor to me. And then as soon as you go down to the cheaper brands, it's like there's something, oh, that's a little bit different. There's like, it's almost like a mustiness to the flavor, But I mean, I could do it. Just line them up, it's a classic YouTube video. I mean, if you're a YouTuber and you're monitoring, like I monitor all the videos that are posted about Malaysia, travelers in Malaysia, and I think as a YouTuber, you'll see a video that gets 1 million views and you think, ooh, that's a good idea, that's a good topic, and you try to duplicate their success. And you quite often see some random backpacker and they're like, they make a video about, I tried every potato chip at 7-Eleven. And they go into 7-Eleven and they buy 10 bags of potato chips, all the local brands that we're not familiar with in Canada or the United States. And then they sit down and open all the bags and then they talk about them. And then, yeah, that video can get hundreds of thousands of views, right? But I don't think I've ever done a video like that in particular. I could be the milk guy, but of course, not many people in the world drink milk as much as I do or would care about the different flavors. And the flavor difference would be so subtle. It's not, With potato chips, of course, you get all the spicy flavors, wild, crazy things, and bright color packaging. That could be an interesting, engaging video. Me sitting there taking a little sip of milk. It all looks exactly the same. Yeah, wouldn't exactly go viral on YouTube. But hey, you never know. Next comment from Ong Teng Ki. This one I don't really know the answer to, but I throw it out here. Maybe other people actually know what's going on. Ong Teng Ki writes, now the card max limit is 10,000 ringgit. That I don't know about. It could be different for different people. It could be in his situation, the card he has linked to this, connected to that. Maybe the limit for whatever he's talking about is 10,000 ringgit. I know it's not for me. At least I don't think it is. I did a little bit of research into this, and the number I came up with for me was 5,000 ringgit, like as a daily limit. So if I had 5,000 ringgit in my e-wallet, well, I'd be very, very happy, but I'm never going to have that much in my e-wallet. But if I did have 5,000 in there, I could use my Touch and Go Visa card to spend all 5,000 ringgit in one day. And I was asking a bunch of sites, going through all the questions and all the policies and guidelines. And as far as I could make out, I could even make one purchase of 5,000 ringgit with my Touch and Go Visa card. But of course that would be inserting your card into something that scans the chip, and then you have to input your code. I mean, that's a real purchase using the card. But I think for me, the limit is 5,000 ringgit per purchase and per day. So I could not spend more than 5,000 ringgit in one day. And if you go into a 7-Eleven, that's a different purchase where you don't actually have to authorize it, because just to keep things moving faster, they say, well, Planet Doug, he's thirsty. He's going to grab a liter of milk and pay 9 ringgit for it. Let's just move that purchase along. So you tap and it's automatic. But that limit, I think, is 250 ringgit. So if I went into 7-Eleven just to do tap and go, my purchase has to be 250 ringgit or less. Above that, and you try to tap and go, it will say, no, you have to insert the card and input your code. They're going to require more authorization. So yeah, in terms of the limits per day, per account, per card, per purchase, that gets into a lot of complicated details, and I'll leave it to other people out there to find out for themselves. You can experiment with your card, go to the websites, look up this information. And in my reply online, I was just joking that, card max limit of 10,000 ringgit, well, that's $2,500 US. So for me, even talking about that kind of a limit is absolutely irrelevant, because, man, if I had, $2,500 in my Touch and Go e-wallet, well, that is not going to happen. Even if I had that much money, it's not going to be in my Touch and Go e-wallet. I'll tell you that right now. So as a limit, I mean, that doesn't even sound like a limit to me. 10,000 ringgit. It's like, well, that's the maximum limit. You can't go over that. And I'm thinking, well, who would? I mean, I think if you're spending that much money, you're probably not using your e-wallet. You're probably using your American Express card, or you've got your butler is carrying a briefcase stacked with $100 bills. You're Scrooge McDuck at that point, from my perspective. This one, not a question or even adding information, but an observation, let's call it. And this is from Travel Pack Gamers. And Travel Pack Gamers writes, I don't know about the travel card. I often travel overseas. Could be to get one soon. So this person is just sort of thinking out loud. Oh, Planet Doug. You know, there's this video on Planet Doug talking about the travel version of the Touch and Go Visa card as opposed to the basic version. Maybe I travel a lot. Maybe the travel card is a good one for me. I wonder. And I didn't go into it in detail in my video because, well, I didn't want to make mistakes and there's so many comparison points. But in general, in the Touch and Go Visa card world, you've got the basic card and the travel card. And I think the two main differences are that the travel card, you get 3% cash back on purchases, which you don't get on the basic, and you get one free ATM withdrawal per month. And that can save you a lot of money if you do that a lot, because if you use an international ATM, go to another country and you use your Touch and Go Visa card to make a withdrawal, they will charge you 10 ringgit for that. And that's a lot. I mean, you're probably, you know, in the equivalent of the local currency in Indonesia, you know, you might be withdrawing 100 ringgit or 200 ringgit. And if they charge you 10 ringgit for that withdrawal, I mean, that's 10% of the amount of money you're withdrawing. So yeah, it's a pretty hefty fee when you think about it. So getting the travel card, you get one withdrawal per month for free. So the travel card is also a little bit more expensive. I think it's like 10 ringgit versus 20 ringgit or 15 ringgit. Again, I didn't get into these prices because they have promo prices, launch prices, and once you say it costs this much, you're going to make a mistake because someone else will go to buy it and be like, hey, you know, Doug said this, you know, he made a mistake. So you don't want to pin down details too much, but the travel card is more expensive to get, but I think you'll make your money back very quickly. Like one ATM withdrawal for free, you've already paid for it. It's already paid for itself, basically. So I would get the travel card. Like, why not? Just in case you end up needing it. Currently, I have the basic card, and I looked into this because I was curious that if I upgrade from basic to travel, like, can I upgrade, and what does that involve? And I found out that, yeah, I can absolutely upgrade. I can go into my Touch and Go e-wallet and just click on a button and then pay for the new Touch and Go travel card. But I was really worried about that because I thought as soon as I clicked on the order button, my current card will be canceled and I won't be able to use it anymore. And then I have to wait for the new one to be shipped to me, and then I have to activate it, and then now I'm stuck without a Touch and Go Visa card. So I haven't done it. But according to the system policies that I read, it doesn't work that way. I could apply for the travel card, and then while the travel card is in transit to me, I can still use the basic card. And then once I get the travel card and I activate it, then it's activated and my basic one is deactivated. You can't have both at the same time. I asked about that, like, hey, can I have both the travel and the basic? It says, no, you can only have one of them. And if you already have the basic and you upgrade to the travel, just wait until you get it, activate it, and then your basic one will be deactivated automatically. That's what I read online. That's my understanding of what I read. So that could be true. So I think that's how it works. But my basic reply to this question or this thought would be, if you're just thinking about getting the travel card, yeah, get it. I think it's a no-brainer. Next comment is quite an interesting one. Could get a little bit complicated, and I definitely don't know any details about the answer. But this comment, don't forget about reviewing Jago Bank with GoPay and Blue by BCAD for Traveler. BCA Original has Amex Platinum. And when I first read that comment, I had no idea what they were talking about. I'd never heard about any of these things, particularly Jago Bank with GoPay. I don't know what the heck that is. So I went online and I started typing all these words into Google, asking my AI buddies to help me out. And I found out that there is this thing. It's an app a website, a company called Jago Bank, and they have a connection with GoPay. I think it's called GoPay Tabungun. And yeah, it's really, really, really interesting, where if you connect, it's basically if you already have a GoPay e-wallet, then you can open an account with Jago Bank, and then this Jago Bank will supply you with a Visa card, just like Touch and Go Visa card. So like GoPay and Gojek does not offer any kind of enhanced card or Visa card, but you can link it with an actual bank, an online bank of some kind called Jago Bank, and then once you have them linked, now you can get a Visa card, and it adds all these other functionalities that GoPay does not offer all by itself. So yeah, it's something to look into. And the other ones I didn't really look into, Blue by BCAD, BCA, Amex. I assume they're all roughly similar. So that opens up a whole other world of e-wallets and modern payment systems. My poor brain is struggling with just QRIS and DuitNow and GoPay and Touch and Go. You know, my brain is ready to explode just trying to figure those things out. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot of bandwidth for diving into this whole new area, but yeah, it's an interesting thing. Might be of value for some other people out there. Look into Jago Bank. Next comment from someone whose name could be Tim and Shu. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but yeah, it could be like two people, Tim and Shu. And they write, but you can't set up a TNG account without a local number, right? I tried on the app, but can't choose a US number. Yeah, and this is I don't think I talked about this very much in my e-wallet videos or my Touch and Go Visa card video. I don't think this really came up, but it is something I probably should have talked about, because when I made the Touch and Go Visa card video, I was thinking mainly about tourists like me. I wasn't really thinking about Malaysians as the target audience for this video. They know all this stuff already, and they know more than I do. I was thinking about tourists, someone from the United States coming to Malaysia on a holiday, and then here's my video saying, hey, Touch and Go e-wallet, Touch and Go Visa card could help you out when you get here. You know, think about getting them. And from that point of view, of course, someone in the United States who's never heard of this, their first instinct might be to just download the app. And it sounds like Tim and Shu, yeah, they downloaded the app just fine. They were able to get it, and then they were unable to open a Touch and Go account because it would not accept their American mobile phone number. So I probably should have talked about this and made it more clear. But yeah, that's true. My experience, like when I opened my Touch and Go account years ago, you had to have a Malaysian number. The only way to get it was to have a local number. So you had to fly into Malaysia, get a local SIM card, it gives you a Malaysian phone number, and then you register with that number, because they need to send security codes, SMS, so that you can go through the sign-up process. Since then, they've expanded. That's why I have my laptop open here. We're very high-tech here on Planet Doug. They now allow people from 20 countries to sign up with their local number. So I don't have any personal experience with this. I'm just looking at the website information. But looking at what I see on the screen here, you can download the Touch and Go app and open an account with a local number from these 20 countries. Most of them you would think of as Asian countries, with a couple of exceptions thrown in. So we've got Australia, which I didn't know, Bangladesh, Brunei, Cambodia, China, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Japan, Laos, Myanmar, New Zealand. We're up to 12. Next page. Pakistan, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam. 20 countries. So we've got the three kind of outlier countries, Australia, New Zealand, and Saudi Arabia. But of course, all the others, the 17 others, are sort of the usual suspects, cluster of Asian countries here around Malaysia. So you can open a touch and go account using your mobile phone number from that country. And I think you can actually open the account while you're physically still in that country. I don't think you have to be in Malaysia to go through the account application process. But again, don't quote me on that. I haven't tried to do it myself. I'm always a little bit frustrated with guides and manuals and things like that, because they never troubleshoot down to the tiniest details. And I always get fixated on those little details. Okay, you're saying that I can open a touch and go account with a South Korean phone number. Awesome. But my brain instantly clicks to the next question, like a troubleshooting question. Okay, but do I have to be in Malaysia first before I can open this account? Or can I do it right here in South Korea or wherever you happen to be? So my brain always goes to the next question, like troubleshooting. What about this situation? What about this? What about if we add this condition? But of course, these online guides and manuals never dive into it that deeply. They give you the basics, and then you're left to flounder and figure things out on your own. Yeah, everything was just shutting down. Peek behind the curtain, the battery on my Olympus died, so I had to, well, the memory card filled up, so I put in a new memory card, and then as soon as I put in the new memory card, restarted, then the battery died, so I had to change the battery. And while I'm doing all that, all of my technology goes to sleep, and I got to wake everything back up again. And then while I was doing all that, I took the opportunity to double check what's going on with my Digi account, because I already tried to buy a new data package and it failed. It kept telling me, we already have a package that you delivered that is interfering with this new one. Please let us sort out the details. So I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for them to sort out whatever they said the problem was, and nothing happened. But I thought, well, let's just try again. So I just quickly just tried to buy another package, and it worked. So if I go to my homepage, yeah, I couldn't get like I said, they took away the deal, 2,000 gigabytes valid for 9 days. I think they decided that, nah, he's taken advantage, that Doug character. We don't like that. So they removed it. It's gone. The best I could get was 20 gigabytes for 7 days. And that's good enough for surfing, obviously. But as soon as I start uploading videos, I'll burn through that 20 gigabytes, you know, in a day. So it's, I don't know what happened to the infinite number of gigabytes. That's the package that I want and need and lust after. Maybe it will come back. Who knows? Next comment, I won't try to say the name of the person, you'll have to read it on the screen. How much did you make from this advertisement? Gave you a like anyway for the effort. Same way your bank debit card can be associated with any e-wallet, bro. So this is a funny comment, because when I first read it, I was annoyed by it in a Planet Doug way, kind of felt condescending, I didn't like the tone of it. Part of the problem, and maybe this is a tip for Malaysians in general, in Canada, probably in the United States, bro comes with a lot of baggage. It's very common in this part of the world. Malaysians call everybody bro. It's like, hey bro, you know, even in messages, in person. But every time somebody calls me bro, it kind of gets my back up a little bit. Even friends of mine, good friends of mine here in Malaysia, will call me bro, and I just kind of bristle. Hey, yeah, because yeah, we use it in English in a different way. Hey bro, what's your problem? You know, it's an aggressive, if we're angry with someone, we'll start throwing bro into the sentence. But here, it's just a word that everybody uses all the time. So I kind of have to get past, you know, the bro usage. But then how much did you make from this advertisement. So it kind of, gave you a like anyway for the effort. And I was reading that like, you were trying to, you're getting paid for this. This is an ad for Touch and Go. How much did they pay you? And he's basically saying, oh, you're not fooling me. Maybe you fooled all these other people, but I know you're getting money for this. So I'm like, dude, bro, no. Again, it was sort of questioning my ethics, which is what I didn't like about it. That if I'm going to post a video that is a paid advertisement, which I've never done, nobody's ever offered me any money for anything, but it will say so. I'm very upfront with everything I do, so I don't like being accused of trying to hide an advertisement. If it is an ad, it's going to say, this video is a paid promotion. And then I would tell you, yeah, Touch and Go reached out and they asked me and they're going to pay me this much money. And yeah, everything with me is going to be out in the open. So that was my initial reaction. And the other one too, the last part of the comment where he says, your bank debit card can be associated with any e-wallet, bro. And then there's like 4 laughing emojis. So I took that as meaning your whole video is pointless. Like, why did you even make this video? Because you're talking about how amazing it is that Touch and Go has this Visa card. And he's saying, well, who cares? You can have any kind of card you want. You just link it to your bank and anybody can do this. There's nothing, your video is pointless. But of course, he's making that classic mistake where he doesn't realize that this video is not meant for him. It's meant for tourists. And as a tourist, I don't have a bank debit card. I don't have a bank account. I can't link any other cards. That's the whole point of this video, is that even me, as a dumb tourist, even I, in Malaysia, I can get this e-wallet and a Touch and Go Visa card. It's like, wow. I mean, that's very unusual. And that's why I made the video. So his comment is like missing the mark entirely. And I have to admit, even the third sentence kind of got under my skin a little bit, where he wrote, gave you a like anyway for the effort. He's basically saying, I caught you. You're trying to trick us with this paid advertisement. And I don't like that. But, you tried. I'll give you a like anyway. It just felt very condescending to me, so that kind of bothered me as well. So yeah, like when I first read the comment, I was kind of like, ah. And I wrote out a reply using this tone of a little bit, hey, don't question my ethics. I'm very honest about what I'm doing, and I don't appreciate this accusation. So I laid that all out, and then after I wrote that, I got it out of my system, and I went back and I just wrote an actual comment, a reply to his comment that's just much more neutral in tone, where I just ignored the bro and all that kind of stuff, and I just said to him, I basically wrote, sadly, no money changed hands. Nobody paid me anything. And then I explained that as a tourist, as a foreign tourist, I can't open a bank account anyway, so the bank debit card approach is not an option for me, and that's why I made this video. So I got the negative reaction out of my system, and then I went back and I wrote a neutral reply. Yeah, so yeah, a little behind the scenes glimpse of a life on Planet Doug. Next comment, you can see it on the screen. Yeah, I prefer to pay using card over QR. Yeah, so I talked about that a lot in my video, where I was super excited when I discovered Touch and Go e-wallets and this fact that I can scan QR codes. And I learned about the system over time and became more and more knowledgeable about it, until I reached a point where it's like, how in the world did I live without this? And now I love e-wallets. I love scanning QR codes. So I reached that level of, man, this is amazing. And now I discovered the Touch and Go Visa card, and it's even better. Like, I'm still using the e-wallet, but wow, now I don't even have to, I'm using the convenience, and yet I don't even have to scan the QR code anymore. Beep, and I paid. So I talked about that in my video, and they are agreeing with me. Yeah, using the card is actually better than scanning a QR code. Of course, in most situations, most places where I buy something, I can't use the card. I've only used it in a very limited number of places, maybe only 7-Eleven, because that's the only place I know about that has, where I go shopping, where I can scan the card. I don't routinely go to any other places where I can do that. At least I haven't tested it. So, but yeah, the card is even more efficient than the QR code system. Next comment. Also super convenient to use in China because TNG is integrated with Alipay, so we don't have to install any other e-wallet apps to spend locally. Very good comment there. And again, I didn't really get into any of that because if anybody says Alipay to me, I'm just like, I don't know. I know logically what Alipay is, where it's from, how it works, all that kind of stuff. But I have no experience with Alipay. China in general, and anything like Alipay, which comes from China, is all just kind of mysterious to me because I haven't been to China in decades and I'm not up to speed even with what the country is like these days. And Alipay and all these things associated with China are kind of like a black box to me. I don't have any access to them. But as far as I can tell, Alipay is kind of similar to DuitNow in Malaysia and QRIS in Indonesia. It's part of their QR code e-wallet payment system. Exactly what part is it, and how easy is it to scan a Alipay code? Is that what you even call it? With your touch and go e-wallet and the cross-border payments, how seamless is it? What are the I don't know anything about it. And I can't even talk about it because I don't have the vocabulary straight in my head. So I don't talk about it very much. But as this person is saying, well, yeah, even if you go to China now, you can use your touch and go e-wallet in China because touch and go is linked with Alipay, just as it's linked with QRIS. So yeah, that's a pretty amazing thing. Next comment calls me out on a big mistake that I made in the video. I understand the mistake now, but at the time I was moving so fast it never even occurred to me. And I said something in my video that was completely wrong, and I made a big deal out of it. So I'm very embarrassed about that. I don't like making mistakes. But this person, CL Madness 1, writes, "Great video, however, wrong info regarding the TNG virtual Visa card, sorry to say. You cannot order just a virtual card first and then a physical card if you choose later on. The way it works is as soon as you want to apply for a TNG Visa card, you must have a physical address or you cannot proceed. There is no such thing as a virtual only card. Every application requires a physical Malaysian address, and a physical card will be sent regardless of what type of card you want. There is no option to only have a virtual card. Thank you for the video all the same." So yeah, very clear. I don't even need to repeat anything from that comment. In my video, I had a whole separate section, I think, where I said one of the interesting things about this is you can have either the virtual card or a virtual card and a physical card. I kept saying you don't even have to have the physical card, you can have just the virtual one. And in that I was 100% wrong. And I think I know where I made my mistake, because I remember when I applied for my Touch and Go Visa card, I was astonished that the virtual card just appeared. Like, I just hit submit, and I don't know how long it was, 2 minutes later, there it was. I had a TNG Visa card, and I could use it to make purchases online. And I thought, oh, I don't even have a physical card. So I don't even need the card. Like, I can just use this. And that amazed me so much, it imprinted on my brain. But what I forgot was, even though I was only using the virtual card, the physical card was on the way. It took 2 weeks or something like that for me to get it, but it was coming in the mail, and it was part of the application process. So you can't get the virtual card only. You're applying for both at the same time, and you have to have a Malaysian address as part of your application, because they need somewhere to mail the card, and they need that address just for security purposes. You know, you can't just have a virtual card with no connection to anything in the physical world. They still need an address where you say, okay, this is where you can find me. You know, if I commit all kinds of fraud, go to this address and arrest me because that's where I live. Which technically in this case, of course, isn't true. I don't live in that address, but that was the address I used in Malaysia, and you have to have one of those. So I was completely wrong about this, and CL Madness 1 seems to know a lot more than I do, and very gently corrected me. And yeah, it was absolutely right. Really interesting comment from Secret Service Incorporated. You can literally waive pay even though the card sits inside your wallet. No need to take it out. Just scan your wallet onto the platform. And I read that and I was like, it never occurred to me, because when I was doing all of my testing, I always take the card out of my wallet, put it on the scanner, beep, and then put it back in my wallet, put my wallet back in my pocket. I do the same with the Touch and Go enhanced card to get in and out of the MRT. I don't know, it's like muscle memory now. It's automatic. I don't even think about it. Take out my wallet, take out the card, beep, put the card back in, put my wallet away. I know some people, they put their card inside their phone case, like underneath the plastic if you have a phone case. Now the card is here and you can just go beep with your phone, which is probably the most convenient way to do it. I've just never done that. I don't know why. I guess I don't really want to. I don't like putting things together in a way that if you lose one, you lose both. If you see what I mean. Like if you forget to bring your phone, which I never do, or you lose your phone, now you're also losing the card that was with the phone. So maybe that's why I don't do it. And I guess every time I put a card up against my phone, I guess I have NFC turned on, and it activates NFC and thinks I want to top up the card. Anyway, I just keep them separate. But you could, yeah, I keep my card in my wallet, and then they're suggesting that, yeah, you can just take out your wallet and put it on the scanner. And I tested it myself, and I had mixed results. Maybe it depends on how thick your wallet material is, how accurately you place it on the scanner. I guess if you figure out a system over time, and you know exactly where your card is sitting inside your wallet, and you put it down exactly lined up, and you put it in such a place that there's not much material, not much of a barrier. Maybe it just works all the time. Beep. But anyway, it failed for me on a number of occasions as well. So it's not something I'm going to do routinely. And I also don't like the card. I don't like that the card is hidden from the clerk, because I find communicating with language is always hit and miss for me when I'm in a foreign country. So I like the idea of taking out the card. The store clerk can see it, and even without me saying anything, they know what I'm trying to do. So I just kind of make sure that they can see it, and then I go, card? So they know how I want to pay, and then I put the card. Everything feels like it's under my control. Everything is out in the open. Somehow I feel weird just putting my wallet down, and then I tell the clerk, oh, paying with my card, and I put my wallet there, and the clerk's like, what the heck? Well, I guess that is normal, and lots of people do it, but it just feels odd to me. It feels like it's not out in the open. Anyway, And I don't have as much control, and it failed most of the time when I tried to do it. Maybe my wallet is just made out of a material that interferes with the connection. So now I still just take the card out. I don't mind doing that. It sort of feels like everything is under my control. So, but yeah, very good tip though. For a lot of people, that's probably the ideal way to do it. Just keep the card in your wallet. Just put your wallet on the platform, on the scanner, and it reduces the risk of losing your card, right? Or losing, well, you're still taking your wallet out and putting it back, but there's one less step, you know, taking your card out, beeping, put your card back. And anyway, a very good tip. Some additional useful information from Tom Cam. The annual fee is payable from the second year, 8 ringgit per year. The Visa card is not free, waived in the first year. And there are 2 different Visa cards, the basic and the travel. With the travel Visa card, 1 ATM usage abroad per month is free. So Tom is adding some information for people who may not be aware of this. Yes, there is a fee, an annual fee for one of these touch and go Visa cards. I never even mentioned that in my video. I don't know why I didn't mention it. I guess it wasn't on my mind because I don't think I've ever paid it yet. I haven't had the card for 1 year yet. And as Tom points out, the 8 ringgit annual fee for the first year, they waive it. So I never saw the 8 ringgit payment because I haven't done it yet. And I'm assuming it's automatic that the 8 ringgit, once I reach 1 year, the 8 ringgit will be deducted from my touch and go e-wallet balance automatically. They're not going to send me a bill or anything. They're just going to take 8 ringgit and give me a notification, 8 ringgit paid for the touch and go Visa card annual fee. So yeah, it's important to know that. And Tom points out again that there are the 2 types of card, the basic and the travel card. And the main advantage to the travel card is that you get a free ATM withdrawal per month. And that can save you 10 ringgit per month. So that card pays for itself. David Shepard writes about something that, again, I really don't know anything about, and I wish I did. David writes, I suspect you would prefer a Wise card. And yeah, who knows? Absolutely, could be. In all the time that I've been on YouTube and telling all my stories about all my problems with my bank in Canada, the debit card, the credit card, just endless hassles, I get a very consistent feedback from people like, bro, just get a Wise card. Dude, get a Wise card. And I remember a long time ago, I wrote this to David in my reply, that I'm aware of Wise, and for all I know, it could be amazing, and I might find 100 uses for it. But in the past, I was never able to get one. In the old days, when I tried to apply, I just ran into a dead end. Basically, I think I had to go to my bank in order, like in person, I had to physically go to my bank to get the Wise card. There was some sort of a barrier there that I wasn't able to do it from outside of Canada. That barrier seems to have disappeared, but the last time I tried to open a Wise account, I ran into another barrier, a smaller one, but still a barrier, where they said, oh, as part of your application, you have to upload a copy of a piece of physical mail that was delivered to your home address in Canada, the address that is listed with your bank. Canada has a ton of these restrictions. Every time I talk to Europeans or Asians, they do all these things. They're like, oh, it's easy, boop, 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 boop. They have like a million things they can do that are just easy, fast, efficient, never have any restrictions. I try to do those things as a Canadian. I always seem to run into a barrier. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm a dummy, or maybe it's the Canadian banking system hasn't kept up with the modern world, and I suspect that is the case. But anyway, for me, the last time I checked, to try to get a Wise account and then a Wise card, they said I have to upload a copy of a piece of mail with my address printed on it, exactly as it appears for my bank. And I could do that. I think I still get mail, bits and pieces of mail from time to time. But I'd have to contact my brother in Canada. Hey, can you rummage through the mail, find something that looks like this, that has this, you know, something that's acceptable to Wise, and take a picture of it with certain parameters and then upload it somewhere or send it to me in an email. It's a lot. I mean, I hate bothering people in Canada to do all of this for me. So I've never gotten around to it yet. And then when I talked about all that, David did write back and said, easy for me. David said, I am a Canadian resident of Malaysia. It was easy for me to get a Malaysian Wise card and use it in Malaysia. So again, I think he's in a different category. He didn't get the Canadian Wise card. He got the Malaysian Wise card because he is an official resident of Malaysia. Technically, I am still a resident of Canada, and when I apply, I have to apply for the Canadian version, open a Canadian account, get the Canadian card, and then all these restrictions click into place. It's one of the ongoing issues of not having a home, because, like, don't tell anybody, but I think technically I'm not even a resident of Canada anymore. I haven't even physically been in Canada for 17 years now. The last time I went back to Canada, yeah, it was 17 years ago. And resident is, like, from a technical, legal perspective, it has a definition. To be a resident, you have to fit certain legal parameters, and because I've been outside of Canada for 17 years, etc., technically I'm not even a resident of Canada anymore. I am a true homeless, residenceless person, and when you live that way, man, you'd think the internet would solve a lot of these problems, that everything would go international, seamless, borders don't matter anymore. But now that the internet can follow you around everywhere you go, it actually seems to be more difficult. Anyway, I run into barriers all the time because I don't have that residency that I can rely on, like a local residency. And that makes life a lot easier. Like, if you live somewhere, your phone number doesn't change, your address doesn't change. You don't lose your phone number when you lose the SIM card, on and on and on. Life gets, in terms of the technology of the modern world, yeah, gets a lot easier. Next comment with another name I'm not going to attempt. You also can withdraw cash without a physical card. Just using your phone number, passport number as an ID, select any bank, and TAC number will be sent to your phone as a PIN. And of course, I don't know anything about that. I've heard people talk about this in the past. Indonesians do it routinely, I think. Maybe Malaysians do it routinely. But I suspect that whatever this technique is, I can't do it. This would be something a Malaysian can do, that they can just walk up to an ATM and they don't even have to put in a card. They can somehow use the keypad and enter their ID, and then they can withdraw money from their accounts without a card because they send a security code to their phone. So there they are at the ATM. Boop, 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 boop. They get a code, enter the code, they have money. And I'm pretty sure this person can do it. And I'm equally sure that in a million years, I will not be able to do it. I will never be able to do this, to have the pleasure of withdrawing cash from an ATM without a card of any kind. So, but yeah, this might be something a lot of people can do, but I'm pretty sure not this guy. Paunch TX writes, if that works like a debit credit card, then you could probably add it to the Google Wallet app on your Android phone, and then just tap to pay with your phone and not even need to bring the physical card with you. So yeah, that is a very interesting idea, and I've been thinking about that right from the very beginning, that, oh wow, this Touch and Go Visa card, it's not a credit card, but it actually has a number and an expiry date and a CVV. So in many situations, it functions in the same way that a credit card does. And that can be quite powerful and very useful. So I've looked into situations where I thought, that can help me out a lot. But then I tried to add my Touch and Go Visa card. So for example, when I was in Indonesia and I had a GoPay e-wallet, and I thought, everyone keeps telling me I can top up my card with a credit card. Well, I can top up my e-wallet with a credit card. So maybe I can add my Touch and Go Visa card to my GoPay account. Beautiful. And now I can top up my GoPay e-wallet with my Touch and Go e-wallet with the money flowing through the Touch and Go Visa card. It was like, whoa, this is going to be so amazing. But of course, systems are smarter than that. It knew this wasn't the right kind of card. So even though it accepted the number, it accepted the expiry date, it accepted the CVV, it got to that point and went, no, doesn't work. And I think in this case, the same thing would happen. That if you tried to add your Touch and Go Visa card number to your Google Wallet app, it won't work. It knows the difference between this type of card and a true credit card. And somebody, Inner Fire, left a reply saying that and says, no, not supported to be added to Google Wallet. You can link it to Google Pay, but you won't be able to tap with your phone. So then that takes it to another level that is way beyond my pay grade. But I think this idea sounds intriguing now that you have the Touch and Go Visa card. I can add it to Google Wallet, I can add it to GoPay, but I'm pretty sure that in every one of those cases, it won't actually work. Simon writes, it is also called a debit card. This is a funny comment because I've run into this in the past where I'm talking about the Touch and Go Visa card and I would use the wrong word or I get my vocabulary mixed up and then people keep correcting me where I'm sort of implying, I will say it works like a credit card. And then everybody piles into the comments that it's not a credit card, it's this kind of a card. And everybody uses a different word for it and everybody's correcting everybody else. So I was very aware of that when I was recording this video. And I went to the Touch and Go website and I looked, what do they call it? And whatever they call it, that's the only name I'm going to use. And on the Touch and Go website, they call it a Touch and Go prepaid Visa card. That's what they call it. So I thought, just to be safe, that's what I'm going to call it. So all through my video, it's very clunky and it's a long word, but I just kept saying my Touch and Go prepaid Visa card, prepaid Visa card, that's the only thing I called it. I didn't call it a debit card, because I had a feeling that if I call it a debit card, now somebody's going to come into the comments and say, no, it's not a debit card. Debit cards only work with bank accounts, and Touch and Go is not a true bank. And anyway, we're going to get into this semantic vocabulary discussion. So anyway, I tried to avoid this by only saying prepaid Visa card. And I did write that back to this person and explained all of that and talked about how technically Touch and Go e-wallet is not really a bank account and this and that. But then someone else chimed in, Albert Lim, and said, no, Touch and Go is already a digital bank. And then talked about, no, it really is a bank, so it is accurate to call it a debit card. And anyway, that is a rabbit hole that you can go down and you'll probably never find the bottom. And they're probably correct. To me, in my previous videos, I did call it a debit card. because it worked exactly like a debit card. So I thought, oh yeah, it's a debit card. And then people were correcting me saying, no, it's not a debit card. It's a prepaid Visa card. And so I'm like, you know, I give up. You know, you got me, you know, put me against the firing line and put me out of my misery. But anyway, so yeah, you do run into these issues if you're talking about e-wallets and payment rails, and there's so much technical financial vocabulary hiding in the background. And if someone from the financial industry who works in the back end of all this, they know all the terminology and they start talking about it, you know, and they're using words that I've never heard, and they're probably technically accurate vocabulary and they're getting everything correct, but those aren't the words that a standard dummy like me uses in day-to-day life. So yeah, once you start talking about e-wallets and debit cards and credit cards and prepaid Visa cards and DuitNow and QRIS and Alipay, yeah, you get lost in a blizzard of vocabulary sometimes, and sometimes it's not easy to wrestle it down and, you know, get it all under control. But my solution was just to say prepaid Visa card, full stop. And this is a comment where I don't think I even replied because I'm not really sure what the answer is. But this person writes, as an Indonesian, I can't apply for Visa card from Touch 'n Go because it must use Malaysian or Singapore mobile number. Is there a Malaysian provider that let foreigner outside Malaysia that can apply for it? So I don't really know what's going on with this question, because I just talked about how with Touch 'n Go, they now accept the mobile phone numbers to open your account from 20 different countries, including Indonesia. So my interpretation of that is, I don't know, it should work, but they're telling me they can't do it, that they have to have a Malaysian number or a Singapore number. So maybe someone can tell me, maybe there's two different situations here. The 20 countries, maybe they can open a Touch 'n Go e-wallet with their mobile number from their home country. That's one side. And then there's the Touch 'n Go Visa card. And maybe for the Touch 'n Go Visa card, maybe that's more restricted. And for that, you have to have a Malaysian or Singapore phone number. I mean, I did some casual research, but then I forgot about this question for a few days, so I didn't finish my research, so I don't know the answer to that. It's entirely possible that we're talking about two different application processes. E-wallet, 20 countries. Visa card, Malaysia and Singapore numbers only. That could very well be true, but I don't know. So maybe someone else out there can know, and you can leave a comment to this video to help people out. As always, I've been talking for a very long time. I do like to talk, but this is the last comment, and again, I won't attempt the name. And this person writes, as a Grab driver, I really like all my passengers pay using T&G e-wallet if they book their trip using cash payment. I already stick T&G e-wallet standee behind car seat. As a Grab driver, I'm using T&G business e-wallet. Sometimes there are passengers from China pay using Alipay. Only T&G business e-wallet can accept payment from Alipay. Personal T&G e-wallet can't receive payment from Alipay. So there's a lot going on there. I really like this comment because it's coming from a Grab driver, someone who has real world experience dealing with a lot of the things that I end up talking about, in particular about this difference between two different kinds of touch and go accounts or do it now accounts. Even the vocabulary there gets confusing for me. But I've heard from many people over and over and over again is that there are two different types. That if a Grab driver or a store owner signs up for QR code payment through Do It Now or through Touch and Go, they have a choice. They can sign up for a personal account or a business account, a merchant account. And this Grab driver is saying, first he's saying, I love it when customers pay using an e-wallet. Even if they say, like when they book their Grab ride, and they select cash as the payment, even if they accept cash, he loves it when after, like at the end of the ride, the customer says, oh, can I pay with Touch and Go? Can I pay with my e-wallet? And he likes that. And then he says, oh, sure, here's my QR code. Beep, and they pay that way. He likes that. But he's taken it one step further, and he has a lot of passengers in his Grab car from China, coming from the airport probably. And these people from China, they've got an Alipay e-wallet on their phone. And they'll often say, oh, can I pay with Alipay? And the only way he can accept that is if he has a merchant account. And again, not to hammer at this point, but I'm still so confused that when he says that he has a business account so that he can accept international cross-border payments, is he saying he has a Touch and Go business account or a Do It Now business account? I still don't know. He's like, my poor head is just bursting with this kind of information. But yeah, I love that comment where he loves getting payments through an e-wallet app, but because a lot of his passengers are from other countries, particularly from China, he made sure to get a business account. And now he can show them his QR code. And he also wrote, this is interesting, that he put a Touch and Go e-wallet standee behind the car seat. I'd never heard that word before. So when I wrote that in my reply to him, it's like, oh, I'd never heard standee. I assume he's meaning the placard, like a laminated card, a big one that has the QR code on it. It says Touch and Go, says Do It Now, says Touch and Go, and he mounts it on the back of the seat so that his passengers can scan it, not from his phone, but they scan it from the card. And he calls it a standee, which, yeah, interesting word. So yeah, I really like that comment. Some really good insight from a Grab driver. And that brings me to the end of all the comments. There were more comments on that video, but I selected these 20 as the most interesting to me, providing some information and giving me something to talk about. As I wind up this video, I can ask you a question that when I make one of these videos, I tend to treat it like a casual conversation. Here I am in Planet Doug Studios drinking coffee, and that means, since it's a casual conversation, I talk a lot. I ramble, I go off on tangents, and my question is, how does that seem to you? Because I could make it much shorter. I could just whip through the comments, read it, answer it, read it, answer it, and go through this in a quarter of the time. I could. I just like answer the question, boom, like make it much more faster paced. Don't do the Planet Doug ramble on, tell personal stories, anecdotes, go off on tangents, come back to the main topic. That's what I do. That's my instinct. It's what I enjoy. But if people hate that and it's like, another hour-long video on Planet Doug, I mean, I could knock it down to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe 1 minute per comment, and we're out the door in 20 minutes. I could do that if people prefer that. If you made it this far in the video, you probably don't mind longer videos, and you'll probably say, no, that's fine. You know, I have your video playing in the background, and I'm just listening to it, and it's fine. Just ramble away, that's fine with me. The one thing I'm very clear about, and I knew this from the beginning, is that if I'm replying to comments, I need to read the whole comment aloud. It just makes sense to me. Put the comment on the screen and read it, just in case there are people that aren't looking at a screen. And a good friend of mine is a Grab driver, and he listens to my videos while he's driving. He just plays the video, but he can't watch it because his eyes are on the road. So for, you know, in particular for someone like him, if I just start talking, it's like, oh, let me answer this next comment, and I just start babbling, they don't know what the question was. So I always make sure to read the question in full, read the comment in full, so someone not looking at the screen, they're not left out of the conversation. So that's one of the reasons I go so much in depth. So that is it. We reached the end of the comments for the Touch and Go Visa card. So thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you to everybody who left those informative and insightful comments. I appreciate them very much. I learn a lot. You're adding a lot of value to the Planet Doug YouTube universe, giving that information to other people that are out there. I love hearing from experts who know so much more about things than I do. So yeah, really love the comments, and I hope some people out there enjoyed listening to me talk about them. So that's it. Shutting down, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.